What's going on, everybody? It's Stas here. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be breaking down the top 15, you heard me right guys, 15 stocks that I'm looking to buy right now. And I want to share with you guys what happened last week in the stock market, doing a quick technical analysis on the S&P 500. And like every Sunday, we're going to be looking at the futures market, which honestly guys is not doing much of anything right now. So if you all find value, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to join the Strive Smart Discord chat and Facebook group linked down below. You could also get 4 free stocks from WeBull, also linked down below. And by the way, that does run out here in the next couple of days, so make sure to get yourself 4 free stocks. So let's get into it. Last week was a pretty green week in the stock market. S&P 500 hit all-time high after all-time high yet again, and we ended up closing the week right under 3,700. The next big milestone, I'd say, for the S&P is breaking that 3,700 point, and you guys can see that's where we closed on Friday. And you could also see here on the 5-day, 5-minute, we're trading perfectly in this channel, right? We're hitting resistance at the top of the channel, support at the bottom of the channel. And the funny thing is here, guys, on Thursday, we got news from Pfizer. We all know what happened there. They're seeing a bit of a supply chain issue with the V-shot, and the market ended up tanking, and you can see it held the support of the channel perfectly, right? And we ended up gapping up. It's like the market doesn't even care about that Pfizer news, right? We gapped up the next day. We hit an all-time high, 3,700. Now we're at the resistance of the channel. So for this week, what are we going to do, right? Are we going to break 3,700 into 3,750 out of the resistance of this channel, or are we going to sell off, maybe see a bit of profit taking for the S&P to get back to, let's say, 3,670, 3,675, the support of the channel? One of those things is going to occur, right? And looking at the futures market and leading into tomorrow, looking at the futures market, right, both now and later tomorrow, and the large caps and pre-market, that's going to tell us, okay, what is the market likely going to do, at least in the morning, right? So at this point, yeah, watch that channel. And when it comes to SPY, also the channel is pretty much the same, since SPY tracks the S&P, although the numbers are a bit different. So you have to look at 370 as resistance. That's the channel break. If we break that, we could be going 375, or the equivalent on the S&P would be right around 3,750, right? But if we get rejected there, we could be going down maybe 367, 368, which would be the support of the channel here on the 5-day, 5-minute. And going over to the futures, again, like I said in the intro, they're not doing much of anything right now, guys. The S&P futures, E-mini S&P 500, they're up literally 2 points, up 0.05%, although the futures did break out of 3,700 a couple minutes ago. That's actually once the futures market opened at 6 p.m. here on the East Coast. That's a good sign, but we pulled down from there. Now we got to see what we're going to do at this point, because we're about to test 3,700 again. And when it comes to the other futures here, the Dow Jones futures, they're actually up a little bit more percentage-wise, up 40 points, up 0.13%. We hit 30,265 here in the futures market. We pulled back a bit, and now we're recovering off of that pull down. So we have to see if that high takes out later in the future session, maybe tomorrow pre-market. And again, pre-market, guys, watch the futures, watch large caps, as that's going to tell you at least what's going to happen for the first 5 minutes, or at least how the open's going to look. And then anything after the open is fair game, because you guys know the market goes crazy at open. It either goes up, gaps up, goes down, it cools off, who knows, right? We'll see how it ends up going down. And the NASDAQ futures are up almost 0.2%, up 22 points. We also got a big spike this opening in the future session. So yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Markets are looking bullish, and me, if I were to bet, I'm thinking markets are going a tad higher, right? I think from here in the short term, we're likely to break that channel on the S&P, and I could be wrong. I'm just saying I'm leaning more towards the bullish side here than the bearish side. And I'd love to know what you guys have to think down below. And if you all are enjoying the video, again, smash that like button. And now let's get into the meat and potatoes, which are those 15 stocks, which I might need a little sip of my coffee right here to get through this, guys. But stock number one is IPOB, and this is a SPAC, right? This, I believe, is going not public, obviously, but the merger is going to be official here on the 17th, right? Yep, here you guys can see it, right? Open Door, Social Capital, Hedo Sophia Holdings Corp, to set December 17th vote date. So this is one that is interesting, right? No doubt about it. It's been selling off, well, not recently. Let's back up a little bit. It sold off from 27 down to $15, right? Saw a big correction, more than a correction, almost 50% down on that sell-off. But it seems like ever since the beginning of November, right? Now we're in December. I keep thinking we're still in November, but now we're in December, guys. Ever since the past month, it's been recovering, right? And most recently in the end of November, it saw a massive pop from $18.80 to $24, followed by a big correction there. And what you can see is after that correction, the uptrend is still holding, and now we actually have popped and recovered from that low at about $19 to about $21.60, about a 12-13% recovery. Now we're in this wedge. We're at a resistance on the 4-hour chart here on IPOB, which I think if we gap up tomorrow, we see any sort of green day tomorrow out of this resistance, it's off to the races, right? To $24, I think IPOB can get to, and if 24 breaks, which is the high from towards the end of November, I think from there it could go even higher, guys. And again, this merger is looking to go through 17th, which is what, in a week, more like almost 2 weeks from now, and that could also push the stock up higher. We'll have to see how it goes down, but the technicals are looking bullish, especially if we break this wedge. So watch out for IPOB, and two more to watch out for, guys, which I'm making a video probably on Monday or Tuesday about. I haven't really decided yet, but Airbnb and DoorDash, both of these are going public here. I believe Airbnb is on the 9th. I'm not sure if DoorDash is the same day. I'm forgetting. I have to double check. Shoot me a comment if you guys know, but I know for sure Airbnb is on the 9th here, which is in 3 days from now. So expect an Airbnb video, maybe a DoorDash video as well, but these two are for sure worth watching heading into this week. And Chewy is another one here, CHWY, that I think is at a breakout spot. I mean, it's been doing extraordinarily well ever since we started covering here on the channel. You guys remember, if you guys have been watching for a couple weeks at this point, we called out this ascending triangle on Chewy, right? Overall, we saw resistance at about 71 to about 73. We got hit there in August. We also got hit there in October, heading into November, right? 4 or 5 different times. And I told you guys, if we break out of this and we were uptrending into that resistance at 72, I told you guys, if we break out of there, it's likely that we're going to squeeze and see a massive move. And well, we got that one right. It hit $72, broke out of that resistance, squeezed up to almost 80, and it saw a much-needed pull down because at 80 it was ridiculously overbought, right? I wouldn't even touch it at 80, but now it pulled down from 80 to about 71, 72 again, tested that old resistance, held it as a support after that little 9% drop, and now we filled the gap from 72 back to 75. So you may be asking yourself, Stas, it already filled a nice gap from 72 to 75. Isn't it a bit overbought now? I don't think so, because I think if we break 75, which now that I'm looking at it, we did get there also in the beginning of September for a brief moment, which also makes it a big resistance, right? 75. I think if we break that point, Chewy's going to maybe even break out of 78, that high, right? From 75, probably into the 80s. That's kind of what I'm seeing here with Chewy. So watch for the momentum. There's a ton of it, right? Ever since we got out of 72. And another one here that has ridiculous momentum, guys, some of the craziest I've seen in the past couple of weeks, is NNDM, Nano Dimension Ltd. ADR sponsored is what it says here on ThinkOrSwim. But anyway, the ticker is NNDM. And this is one that recently had a direct share filing, and the stock went down 25% that day. If you guys remember, I actually covered it on this day. 25% down. That was ridiculous, right? It might have been even 30% from top to bottom, but it went down a ton. The next day, it actually went up a ton. I believe it went up 16%, and ever since then, it's been going up like crazy, and recently, it almost hit $8 on Friday, and now we pulled down heavily into the close. If I pull up this intraday chart, you guys can see it. We pulled down from $8 to about $6.70, which is almost a bear market in itself. That's 16% down. A bear market is anything above 20%. So I think the pull down is healthy, was healthy, and I'm not saying the bottom is in quite yet, but with the momentum that we've been seeing, this very well could be the bottom. We have to see how pre-market looks tomorrow, and you guys can see for yourselves. I mean, this 50 SMA on the hourly chart has held like clockwork the past couple of weeks after every single pull down. So who's to say it won't hold it again and blow right through $8? So I think NNDM has that momentum, no doubt about it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that massive rally maybe Monday, Tuesday, some point next week. And another thing worth noting is if it breaks down and goes 650, watch for $6 to be support. That's SMA here on the hourly chart. And quite honestly, I'd prefer that to happen, and I'd be a buyer anywhere from 6 to 650. We have to see how that goes down. And HYLN, HYLN's another one that a bunch of you guys have been asking me about. It's an EV stock here, and we all know the EV stocks, well, other than Nikola and HYLN for the most part, have been crushing it. And if you guys saw my video yesterday, Saturday, about the EV stocks, I actually didn't talk about this one. It slipped my mind, to be honest, and I'm going to talk about it now. But if you guys didn't check that video, I'll leave a link down below. Go check it out. We go over a bunch of EV stocks, whether or not they're overbought, oversold, and kind of my opinions on them. So go check out that video after this one. I'll leave it linked down below. So when it comes down to HYLN, however you guys want to call it, I don't even know. This chart is not looking the best for me, for my liking, right? If you're a short seller, maybe it's looking decent for you. But then again, if you're a short seller, you already made a ton of money from shorting it, let's say from 24 down to 18. If you were shorting it right here at $18, your bet would be that it's going to collapse under 18 and make a lower low, which honestly is possible. I'm not sure if it's going to go down to $10, $11. That's a little bit extreme. But if it were to go to $16, $17, hey, I wouldn't be surprised. And that is where shorts would make money if they were in from $18 down to $16, $17, whatever. And one reason why I don't like this is because, honestly, it's not my favorite setup. The stock's still downtrending on the 4-hour chart. We're likely to hit that lower low that we just talked about. And me going long on something like that wouldn't make sense. And we already did take out the low, it seems like, from back in the beginning of November, right? We hit about $18, rallied to 27, failed at the moving averages. Now we're looking to take out 18 on the bottom side again. So for me, guys, if HYLN breaks 18, it's going to go lower. If it somehow breaks above 18, gaps into the 20s, hey, there could be some upside from 20 to 23, but I'm kind of iffy on that. And I'd love to know your thoughts down below, but those are my honest thoughts. And another one that I did not talk about in Saturday's video is Lordstown, right? Workhorse has 10% in this particular company here. And this one's down a good chunk from its peak as well, down about 26% from $30 down to about $25, $26. And the price action here, I'm liking it a little bit, right? We ended up holding a higher low at $20, $21 here. What day was this? Probably on Monday or Wednesday of last week, right? We held that and we popped off of that point. But it seems like now on the 5-day, 5-minute, you guys can see this. Actually, probably more on the 10-day, 30-minute. You guys can see that we're getting rejected under that 180 SMA, right? The downtrend in the short term has not completely broken out yet, and that's kind of what you notice with a lot of the EV stocks. So for me, I wouldn't really touch RIDE in the short term, that is, right? I really wouldn't touch RIDE until it breaks out of $24 out of this moving average, and I'd say into the $24.50, $25 level. That could be where I'd pick up some shares here on Lordstown Motors. And another one is NTDOY, Nintendo here, guys. This is another one that is kind of beaten down from its high. Not too much, honestly. I don't want to sound like it's getting crushed, but it's down about 8% from 73.75. It's making lower highs at the same time as it's making higher lows, right? So this could be getting itself in a nice old wedge, which to the point where if we break $70, I think, which is the resistance of this wedge, I think there could be some upside here on Nintendo. And this is probably the least, I'd say, popular out of the video game stocks, we're talking TTWO, Activision, we're talking Electronic Arts. I'd say Nintendo's the least popular. What do you guys think? Shoot me a comment down below. But overall, we're holding an uptrend. We're making those lower highs, so I think we might be able to break out of that wedge, which could give us some upside, maybe from $70 back to the mid-70s. I think that's possible. So that's Nintendo. Another video game stock here is Activision, which we talked about last week. I'm going to talk about it again right now. This one was in a downtrend, right? Downtrending channel for a couple months. From $89 it hit was the high, down to where it hit at about low 70s. It dropped about 16%. So a nice correction there for Activision, a pretty healthy overall sell-off. And now we're noticing, as of Friday, a break out of the resistance of this channel, which is what I've been actually calling out for this stock. I shouted it out on Twitter, in the Discord chat. And by the way, excuse me, guys, I knew I'd need some coffee here, but we'll wait on that. But follow me on Twitter because I call this out at Stas. And on Instagram, I believe I call this out, but if I didn't call this one out, I call a bunch of other ones out on Instagram, so follow me there at Stas Surfez. But we talked about how if the channel breaks, which it is, there's upside, and especially if 81 breaks, which is right where my price alert's at, I think we can go from 81 to 83 to 85 pretty quickly. Honestly, that's what I'm thinking here for Activision Blizzard. And EA is another one, although it's not on my list here. Might as well just mention it. EA's been breaking moving averages on the 4-hour chart. It's been slowly reversing the trend, and we took out 124. We're about to test 129, 130. I think if 130 can break, mid-130s is coming, so watch out for EA. And another one here is Shopify, ticker symbol SHOP. And I've got to be honest, this is one that somebody DM'd me. I got some comments on it on YouTube as well. This is one that we've been calling out the horizontal channel on this one. It feels like months at this point, right? We've been saying there's resistance on Shopify around 1050 to 1100, right? We've gotten rejected there multiple times. And there's also support right around 850, 900. And it tends to be a good buy at around 900, 950. And it tends to be a good sell at about $1,050 to $1,100. So at this point, honestly, I think there are better opportunities elsewhere. But another thing worth noting at this point in time is the run on Shopify may not be over, because if you guys recall, I talked a lot about the ascending triangle pattern on Shopify. It kind of didn't play out a couple weeks ago, but now we could be trying to break out of 1100, which could be the play out of that ascending triangle breakout, because we are at a resistance at 1100, which might not be the best time to buy into that wall of resistance, right? But if we break out of 1100 into the 1150s again to test that high from a couple months ago, what you guys have to realize is a lot of momentum buyers could come in and push this thing quickly from 1100 to 1200 to 1250, which honestly I think Shopify is heading there anyway. So this could be where it breaks out, but again, you have to be careful because it might not. We might see another one of those sell-offs down to 900, and if it gets down to 900 again, I'd for sure be picking up shares of Shopify. And another one is JMIA. This is that African e-commerce company, very hot stock out here that a lot of people have been talking about. It's gone from $2 back a couple months ago all the way to 41, and now it recently pulled down from 41 to 26. I think it hit a low of about 24, something like that. That was a sell-off of 40%, guys. Unbelievable. And we saw a relief rally right after that sell-off. We saw a pop from 26 roughly up to 35. That was a 25% move. And now we're actually not breaking out fully. We're seeing a bit of resistance at about 35, right? Take a look at this trend line that I just drew. But we're also making higher lows potentially into that resistance. So on this 10-day chart, we're seeing a wedge forming on JMIA, which I think, if very simple, if we break under, let's say $30, I think we could be testing those lows from last week, probably at around 24, 25. But if we end up breaking out of, let's say, these moving averages on the 10-day chart and out of this wedge on the top side, that is where we, no joke, could see a lot of momentum kick in back into the high 30s, maybe testing those 41 levels here. So JMIA, I love it. There's a lot of momentum, no doubt about it. A lot of money to be made here if you play it right. But it's volatile, so you guys have to be careful, and you guys have to watch that wedge that we just talked about. Docusign's another one, DOCU. This is one that did well when it comes to earnings. The stock went up a ton. It broke out of that 230 level of resistance that we've been looking at here on the channel, right? 230, big resistance from back in August, back in October, back in the end of October, and also in November. So 230 was a huge wall on Docusign. They reported earnings. I believe guidance was good. It popped up, filled all the way to 250. Right now we're seeing resistance at 250, which was a point of resistance from the middle of October and in the beginning towards the middle of November. So for me at this point, I'm probably not going to force into it, but I know the second it breaks 250, we've talked about a lot of momentum here in the past couple of stocks. I think 250 breakout, momentum's coming. Maybe pushing it back to those levels of high 200s, right? Maybe 275, maybe 290. Who knows? We'll see, which 293 is the all-time high from a couple of weeks ago. So watch that, guys. Watch that. And this is another example of the ascending triangle, honestly, now that I'm looking at it. If we go to the 20-day 1 hour, you guys can notice it. We're seeing a big resistance at about 250, and we're uptrending into that resistance the past couple of trading days. So just maybe we explode out. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. All I'm trying to do is give you guys some ideas, and I know you guys, some of you write down the stocks we're talking about, and you look at them throughout the day, which is what I encourage you to do. That's kind of the point of all these videos, guys, right? That's the point of the videos, right, guys? But yeah, the next one here is Home Depot HD. This is a descending triangle. We talked about ascending. This is descending, right? This is looking more of a bearish pattern overall, what I'm seeing at least. Correct me if you guys are seeing something else. But what we're noticing is, okay, we're seeing strong support at 263, but we're also making lower highs into that support, right? Which again is an ascending, or a descending rather, triangle. So the idea here is an ascending triangle, right? Going back to, let's say, DOCU. The idea here is an ascending triangle. You're making higher lows into the wall of resistance, right? Which in this case on DOCU is 250, and you break out, right? And you make higher highs, and you hit a high in the stock potentially, right? But the idea of a descending triangle is, let's go back to HD. You're making lower highs instead of higher lows into the support here, right? We're making lower highs, or I'm confusing my words here, guys. We're making, lower highs into the support, and then ultimately we're going to break 260, right? And maybe go down to 245, 250. So this could be a short setup for people that like to play puts or traditionally short stocks. Hey, you could do this, maybe from 260 to 250. I think that's possible on Home Depot. I personally wouldn't like to go long on a setup like this, but let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to know. Another one here is Virgin Galactic, SPCE. They have a test flight here on December 11th for the next Spaceship Two space flight, which originally was supposed to be back on November 19th to November 23rd. That was the original flight. They had to push it back due to CV. They had a bunch of cases in their facility or whatever, and they pushed it back. Now they're eyeing up December 11th, which is 5 days away. And the stock has been crushing it, guys. We've been breaking resistance after resistance after resistance, and now we're looking to test $30. We talked about how last week it pulled down at $27.50, held that. We closed above that, about $1 above that at $28.70. And now, hey, I think the next spot we could be going to is over 30. That's what the chart is honestly telling me. And if I pull up this yearly chart, you can see it hasn't been over 30 in a while, back since February of 2020, the last month before the world was semi-normal, if you guys know what I'm saying, right? Back in February 2020. So I think if 30 can break, we're going higher, maybe $32, $33, $35. I don't know where it could go. All I know is that we are likely going to break out of there. And another one here, we're getting to the last two, guys. I know you're getting sick of me by this point. We're 24 minutes in. DraftKings, DKNG. This is one, if we pull up, I think it was the 20-day chart. Let me take a look at it here. Yeah, 20-day chart. You guys can see DraftKings. Let's give you some perspective first. On the 4-hour chart, it's been uptrending like crazy, right? It went from 35 to about 55. Now we're pulling down pretty aggressively the past couple of days, and that gets me back to that channel. You can see on this hourly chart, we're trading perfectly in this downward channel, right? We're making lower lows, lower highs. We're about to see a bearish cross here on the hourly chart, which means the 50 SMA is going to cross below the 180 SMA, and it could mean any small moving average crossing below the larger time frame moving average, if that makes any sense. That could indicate more selling. So we're seeing that, right? We might see DraftKings go lower, maybe to the likelihood of, let's say, $47, $48. Maybe it goes down to about $46, which is a resistance back from the middle of November. So what this chart's telling me is more downside likely in the short term than upside. But what would change my mind is if we, you guessed it, if we gapped out of this resistance on this channel, probably until, let's say, $50, $51. If that were to break out, I'd say from there, momentum shifting, and hey, we might be going mid-50s, taking out those highs from back in the end of November. So DraftKings is definitely worth watching. I'm watching it for sure. And the last one here is Nvidia, guys, which is yet again another ascending triangle here on the 10-day, 30-minute. You can see it, resistance at about 540. We're uptrending into it, and I think there's likelihood that it can break out into the high 540s, maybe even above that, guys. And the truth is, we've been talking about Nvidia a ton here on the channel the past couple of videos, and honestly the past couple of weeks, because it's just been consolidating, right? It's kind of gearing up for the next move, and it's been under 540 again for the past couple of weeks. So I'm just waiting, and I think this might be the week Nvidia breaks out. And the beauty about trading is it's about patience. You can have your watch list, your plans set in place, your price targets, and once those targets hit, you're ready to go. That's if you have patience and you don't jump the gun or get into something else while you wait and wait for the stock to happen. Then you don't have cash to get into that stock. Do you know how many times that's happened to me, guys? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You have a stock you're watching, right? And this doesn't happen to me anymore, more in my earlier years, but you have this stock, right? You're watching it, you're waiting for the breakout, and then while you're waiting for that, you go and use up all your trading cash into, other stocks, and then those don't do as well. Then the one that you were planning out breaks out and you don't have the cash because you're tied up in another trade, right? That was kind of a lesson that I learned in my first couple of years is don't, first of all, go all in on a stock and use up all your cash unless you want to do that. You can do whatever you want. But for me, I've learned it's always good not to go all in because you might not have cash to go in on other stocks, right? Other opportunities. And another thing I learned from that is always be patient and wait for the setup and wait for the price targets, right? So for me, price target 545 on Nvidia, and from there I think it could go high 500s, and I'm sure you guys could agree. Let me know your thoughts down below. And that's it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you didn't already. We're so close to 20,000 subscribers, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Are you buying stocks, selling stocks? Are you looking at any of the ones we talked about today? Let me know down below in the comments, and don't forget to join the Strive Smart Discord chat and Facebook group, link down below. And you could also get 4 free stocks from WeBull, also linked down below. All you have to do is deposit $100, and you literally get 4 free stocks. So I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks for watching as always. Stay safe out there. Good luck this week. Peace out.